Everybody, welcome back to Day 5 Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas. As fuels go longer, HOKA Let's Fly. Deboer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim goggles, Zoot Sports, original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. So awesome to have everybody here, and our guest, Dan Lorang, who is the coach for Jan Frodeno, Lucy Charles-Barclay, Fred Funk, Anne Haug. You name a top triathlete, and Dan is their coach. How you doing, Dan?
Thank you for having me, Bob. I'm very good. Thank you.
And this has to be sort of a bittersweet weekend. You've been working with Jan Frodeno for a long time. This is going to be his final race. What are some of your thoughts on watching Jan? First of all, just the fact that he's here racing after all he's gone through, seeing him finish up his career.
To be honest, I don't think too often about it, because first there's the race, and then we think about what comes after, and perhaps going back to memories. For sure, sometimes when you are alone thinking about the last years, you have these moments where you think about the big victories, but also about things who went wrong with injuries and all that stuff. So then it gets emotional, but I would say the main feelings at the moment are really focusing on the race and try to get the best out of that, having a good finishing of the career, and then making party and talking about good old times.
How long have you been coaching Jan?
Now it's the 11th year.
11 years.
Yeah, so quite a long time already.
So basically from when he made the transition from the Olympics?
Exactly. We met 2012 in, I think it was December, when I was under 23 national coach in Germany.
Yes.
And he was there at the training base in Saarbrücken. And we met there the first time. And basically it starts there when he came to my office and asked if I could coach him. And he wants to win Kona. So that's how the story started. And I said, okay, we will do it.
And now, at that point, had you been training athletes for Kona?
Yes, I had one athlete. She's not in the circus anymore. It was Britta Martin. It was a long-distance triathlete.
Yes.
Not at that level like Jan now, but I had some experience, but for sure more experience on short-distance triathlon with being under 23 coach, having Annie already in these times.
Yes, because people forget that in 2012, you had Daniela Rief at the Olympics, you had Anne Haug at the Olympics. So Annie's been involved with, you worked with her when she was younger.
So, I work with Annie, not with Daniela, so not that somebody
but all those, a lot of our athletes who are doing so great in long distance now, we're back in the Olympics.
That's true.
Over 10 years ago.
I worked with Annie already now for 18 years.
18 years.
So that's
that is amazing.
Yeah.
You see a lot of athletes and coaches, those relationships can break up very quickly. And the fact that 11 years with Jan, 18 years with Annie, obviously the relationship there is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this also in these times, that relations of coach-athletes don't last so long.
Yes.
There are, and I'm really happy, also exceptions. You also now have more coaches probably on the market, so there's more choice. But I think a key is really to have these good relations and long relations, because you cannot know an athlete from just a half a year, 1 year. So it needs time to really know an athlete, also that the athletes knew, okay, what is the coach really want from me?
Right.
And that takes time, and I think that's why these long-term relations are key, as long as there is a development. For sure, if they are stuck, so if an athlete is stuck in performance, I think then it's always also good to make a change.
Right.
But if there's progress, if there's still a perspective, I think then it's good to continue that.
With Jan, obviously, he came off the Olympics 2008, was not a favorite, right? I think he was number 27, something like that, ranking, and wins the gold medal, comes back for another Olympics, and then making that transition to longer distance and coming to Frankfurt. Was his first long distance race. I remember him running and stopping and running and stopping. And he would have run in the high 230s that day but he was just learning. And what the process of getting him to the point where he became a champion. Talk a little bit about the transition from short course to long course for Jan.
Yeah, first of all, it was a big question mark, because also during his Olympic distance times, he was several times injured.
Right.
So people have their doubt if long distance triathlon is the right thing for him. And we also didn't know if his body would really be made for that. And so we went on that journey. And we had to go to win Kona in 3 years, so that was the master plan.
Oh, that was a plan. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we said it immediately. I think the second day when we're sitting together and say, okay, we need 3 years to be there, and that's how we build it up. And we both learned from it. So both learned from racing, from training, making adaptations, and also this running was more the consequence of the muscles not being used to such a long run, because we went up with these long runs quite step by step.
Yes.
We make like all the weeks long runs, so we really went step by step here to not risk injuries, and that's why he was not 100% prepared for it. And and this got better and better over the years.
Well, then he came to Kona and gets third his first time out, right? So, and then comes back and wins the second time. Your goal was 3 years. You did it in 2 years.
No, it was basically 3. We started to work together in 2030.
Yes.
And then in 15 he won the first time.
Yes.
So it was the third year of our work.
Third year work together. Yeah.
Yeah. It was his second year on long distance, because the first year when we worked together, it was still a mix of Olympic distance, and he did there his first middle distance races, I think, from the second part of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when he gets third the first time out, and really, I remember him running in the transition. He ran out. He had the wrong clothing on. He had to run back in. Every mistake you could make, he made in that race, and still got third. So you had to come away from that thinking, okay, we're on the right path. We know that we can win this race now. And so, did you have to make many changes between 14 and 15? Or it was just a matter of staying with the training course?
Yeah, it was a matter of continuing the process. Well,
yes.
Like I said, we tried to make a smooth build-up to long-distance triathlon, and it was just continuing the process and not doubting too much about what we are doing. For sure, like I said, we always have to make some adjustments, but we saw we were on the right track, and we just continue, and then basically the win was a result of this. And
yes.
So it was really, really amazing to get this first win in Kona then.
And how did that change things? I remember Jan saying coming home, winning that race, and just the crowds and all the national media. And he had won the Olympic gold, but there was something different when you win the Ironman World Championship.
Yeah, especially in Germany, the long distance triathlon, especially at that time, had a bigger, was more present than Olympic distance.
Yes.
So he, even with winning an Olympic medal, this was bigger.
It was way bigger.
It felt much bigger for him, and it changed a lot, I think, in his life, and it gave him other opportunities, and also he got the taste of really winning this kind of races and continue the following years. But it was quite interesting to see this Olympic medal and the win in Kona, how big the difference was. I don't know how it is internationally, but in Germany it was a difference.
Way bigger, yes. Yeah, because it's an endurance country. Mm-hmm. People, and so many of your age groupers in Germany.
True,
and you had the history with Thomas Hellriegel and Norman Stadler and all those folks. And then he wins the second time. And when he won in 16, and Patrick Lange broke the run course record, and I almost felt, even though Jan won, he could sort of see the future and realize, I got to run faster. Because when we saw him in our pre-race interview in 17, he looked too skinny. Mm-hmm. It looked like he had tried to become too much of a run. And in my opinion, he looked too skinny. Was that a conscious effort going towards 17? We have to run faster?
For sure, not from my side that I said, okay, now we have to get lighter or whatever. Yeah. But if you have guys like Patrick Lange who are coming from behind with this running speed, and if you see the races also in front of the Kona race, you have some imagination how the race could develop.
Yes.
And then it comes to the consequence that you say, okay, you have to run really fast. And Jan is really tall, so body weight plays a role.
Big time.
And probably he fall there back to something what he did for the Olympic medal, where he was also really, really skinny.
Yes.
And his idea was probably to run faster with this, but we know it also now in our days that this was for sure not the best decision. If this was now linked to an injury, that is we don't really know, but it was probably not the best way to go. But it was not like, hey, Jan, look, we have to get lighter, we have to run faster.
Right.
Because I don't believe in to say, okay, we have now to run this and this time. I believe in building up performance.
Right.
From year to year and continuing that process. So that's why I cannot predict you will run now 5 seconds faster on 1K next year, whatever, but we try to make the best training, to have the best adaptation for the metabolic system. How fast is it going? It's a prediction, but nobody can really tell you.
Right.
That's why we never tell Jan we need to run that time, but
right.
we always need to get him to the start line as a complete triathlete. And that's also what I'm doing with all my triathletes, not looking at one discipline, but try to bring them in the start line and giving them several options in the race.
When he comes back in 18, I think he had one of the greatest races in the history of our sport over South Africa. When they go to 70.3 Worlds, he runs 106, Alistair runs 107, Javier runs 108, and he has the high of winning 70.3 Worlds against this amazing field, having this great race. Then he gets off the plane, and he's got a hip issue, and he can't race Kona. You have the high, and then he's so fit, but he can't get to the starting line. How do you deal with that? Because now it's not like there's a race the next week. He's got to think about the following year.
Yeah, that was really a strange feeling. I can remember really because I was in the car going, I had to go to a race, I think. It was in the morning, I was in the car, he called me, and normally when Jan called me out of nowhere, something happened. And then I said already,
that's not good.
It's not good. And then he told me the story and that he had pain, and then he had to make the scans, and then we got the result, and it was really a shock because we knew he was probably in the shape of his life.
No question.
Everything was set to win again Kona, and then it was a setback, and it was a really a hard injury. It was not just something small, but a really hard injury where you really have to take care also how will things go on. But we have to also, to be honest here, I think it's for the athlete himself that he feels the biggest pain for it. So I can now sitting here and say, I was disappointed and so on, but my thoughts were with Jan and think, how does he feel now?
Exactly.
And how can I support him? How can we support him as a team? And in this situation, I always try that we think about, okay, we will have a plan. We will come back and we will make a plan for this, and probably we come back stronger than before. We just don't stay on the ground. We will stand up and go again for it, and you have every support you need. So that's what I tell to my athletes in this situation, and then we go. And you talk about long-term relationships. I think in these moments you also see if these relations are good or not. Because if everything is going well, it's easy to work together. But if things are going wrong, then you really see, is there true trust, or is there a tendency to say, oh, I think I have to change? What is also fine, but relations are made not only of the positive things, but also of this negative.
That's a really, really good point. How do you work with the Boro cycling team, right? The one of the best cycling teams in the world. When you compare the cyclists to the triathletes, how different are they in terms of the training and in their just when you look at numbers, how different are they?
So it was interesting. I think 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I make a comparison of Jan. It was in 2019. It was when Jan won Kona, and Emmanuel Buchmann, one of our riders, he got fourth in the Tour de France, and we compared training. And basically, we came to the same numbers of hours of endurance training. Jan has more athletic and strength training, what the cyclists don't like so much.
They don't want to carry any extra weight, right? They want to be skinny, skinny, skinny.
Exactly, yeah. And but it was interesting also, even the intensity distribution was somehow the same between long distance triathlon and road cycling. That was also the case because Emmanuel Buchmann, he's a climber, and a GC rider, so going for the big Grand Tours, and there the profile is quite similar. If you would now take a sprinter, probably it would be different,
right?
In terms of intensity and volume, but the GC riders from a Tour de France and long distance triathlete, there are a lot of similarities.
So Jan comes back after the injury of 18 and doesn't just win in 2019, breaks the course record. It has a phenomenal day, and I think all of us were thinking, okay, this is setting up Jan to go win in 2020, 2021. This thing called COVID hits, and it probably hurt Jan more than anybody because the clock is ticking. He's getting closer to 40 years old, where people normally lose performance. But but he handled everything well. He did his own Ironman, indoors, he raised money for charity. He made lemonade out of a tough situation. But coming back, and I think one of your real strengths, Anne Haug is 40 years old. Jan is 42. These guys are still performing at a high level. How do you do that? How do you work with those athletes to keep them racing at a high level at the age of 40? Because that's unique. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, when people got to 37, 38, they were done. Mm-hmm. And your athletes are still racing at the highest level.
Yeah, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would say it's not possible. But now I really see it's possible, and not just with one athlete, but like you mentioned, also with Annie. We see the same. We even see some of the personal bests.
Absolutely.
At that age. And that is really fascinating. And I think the first thing is that they make it happen. So they still live this life as an athlete. They love what they are doing every day. So they stand up and they like the life of a triathlete.
Yes.
So that's not just the training. That's the recovery. That's everything around it. So their whole life turns around the sport. And I think because recovery is key, especially when you get older, and this life also allows them to recover proper and to still do this amount of training what they did in the past. Probably we make some small adaptation, but I would not say that they do less training now.
Right.
It's not true. I would like to say this and just saying what is written in the books, but it's not like this. They're still doing nearly the same amount of training, but they really take care about their bodies. They take care about their mental health, what is also really important. They take care about the environment, and it's different for them. For example, Annie likes to be in Lanzarote, train there with several training partners, sometimes train alone. Jan is in Andorra, has there his setup. But first of all, it's the athlete himself who makes this possible. So you cannot do this with everybody. And then for sure, it is what I mentioned, this constant build-up. So probably if somebody asks me about my training philosophy, probably it's this, constantly build up the bodies. Not going for a time what is illusional, but really saying, okay, we go from year to year and try to get better, no matter what the age is, and try to find a way how to do this. And that's the process what we are still continuing now with Jan for 11 years.
And usually when you get older, it's that raw speed that goes away. Mm-hmm. And when you see Jan win in Milwaukee at a distance, the PTO race that's less than a 70.3, when you see Annie win Ibiza, which is, again, less than a half, and you wouldn't think that would be her strength, that they still have their speed, which is something you lose with age. That says a lot. With Jan, this last couple years, 4 surgeries, just so many frustrating moments for him. Just getting here to the starting line and being ready to race, that had to be sort of the ultimate goal. Let's get you to the starting line healthy, and then whatever happens, happens.
That's what I thought some months ago. So basically when we said, okay, we come here, that was my thought. Bringing him to the start line, making him fit, ready, and having a good race here.
Yes, a good race, yes.
Good race. But, and then we start training, and I recognize that he's always doing more than what I'm prescribing. In general, he's not doing this. Normally, we find over the years a good system that he sticks to the plan. What I also like, because then you can control the load. But if athletes then go on their own, it gets difficult to control the load.
Right.
And then we talked several times, and I understood that that's not what he wants. He wants to come here to have at least a chance to win.
Right.
And to make the best possible preparation, even with the risk to not start. So even with the risk to get injured, but not to hold back. And then we went back to that system, and it was close to everything. So it could also happen that he's not starting here, but we made it with our whole team, and he's fit, he's ready. But that was his decision, and that's what I always tell people. It's not that the coach makes the decision; it's the career of the athlete, and all the people around. They are there to help the athlete to achieve the goals. And if the goal is to come here in the fittest possible situation, even with the risk to not start, then the team has to do everything to make that happen. And not if you have in mind, probably it's better not to do it. That doesn't matter. You can tell it, but it doesn't really matter.
No, he wants. You know that he wants to do what Mark Allen did in 1995. Mark retired, announced his retirement, went out, came back from 13 minutes down in the race, and beat Thomas Hellriegel to win his 6th and final Ironman. And I'm sure that Jan wants that same, what we would call a mic drop moment, of winning his final race of his career.
Yeah.
What would that mean to you as a coach And we know what it means to Jan, but what would it mean to you to see him come away with a win here?
Yeah, it would be fantastic because I think I knew what it would mean for him.
Yes.
I think the first thing is to have a good race here, really to be at the finish line and to knew it was a fantastic race.
Yes.
He gave everything what is possible. He could be part of the game, but if he wins, it would be just a fantastic end of the career. And you would just, if you look at the pictures, probably 20 to 30 years after, it would be, that's how it should be. That's what. Yeah, that was the right end point of it.
Exactly. That's the way we want somebody's career to end.
Yeah, exactly.
99.9% of everybody isn't winning their last ever race.
Exactly, yeah.
Only a few. Yeah. But Jan is one of those champions that you would like to see that happen for. Dan, thank you so much for taking time. It's such a treat to get to chat with you.
Thank you very much for having me, Bob.
And hopefully, will you be in Kona?
I will be in Kona too, yeah.
Cool, so we'll have to chat more Annie and Lucy. That'd be great.
Exactly.
Dan Lorang has been our guest again. This is Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. Hold on, we will be right back.